I popped in, and I was like, I did a gun grant for Anthony's birthday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just a fan of the show. I just want to come in and say hi to Anthony. And he looked out. He's like, you're the guy that plays a trumpet and shoots a gun, aren't you? I'm like,
yeah,
I am. He's like, wait a second. And he comes out. He's got a little stack of like T-shirts and hats and stickers. He's like, here you go. This is for you.
Yeah.
What are you doing in the area?
Yeah.
He's the best, man. He's the coolest.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
He is.
Definitely a good dude.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we start off this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie, I want to thank you guys all for being here. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do. If you haven't subscribed to the Rumble channel, please do, because the show is there as well. If you're listening to the show in podcast form, please share it with your friends and leave a positive rating there. If you are looking for new cell phone coverage, you can go to Patriot Mobile, enter in the code RSWC, and save 1 month. Get 1 month for free on Patriot Mobile. If you are looking for self-defense coverage all over the United States, including New Jersey, you can go to US Law Shield, enter in the code RSWC, and I think you get 14 months for the price of 12, but it might be Massachusetts. You'll get some sort of a deal at US Law Shield. Enter the code RSWC. If you enjoy the show, if you get something out of it, share it with your friends, because that is how we get the Stagecoach across America. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Today we are coming to you from Woodland Park, New Jersey. We are at the Gun for Hire range, and I have with me Jolo. Joe LoPorto. Joe.
Charlie.
It's everybody. So I was talking to somebody recently. A couple weeks ago, I was at an event up at the SIG Academy, and I was with Alicia Curtin from Gun Owners Radio and San Diego Concealed Carry, and we're driving up there, so we got a lot of time to talk. And so I started talking about people and using their nicknames, and she's like, does everyone have a nickname? I'm like, yeah, I think everyone's got a nickname.
Everyone needs to have a nickname.
Yeah, so you're Jolo, and I started using this with Petrolino, who's like Jolo. I'm like, yeah, Joe LoPorto.
This inevitably evolves into J-Lo.
Right, that's right where it came from.
So,
Jolo.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a moniker that I've earned in other places too. It's just a logical, abuse of my name.
It really is. It really is, and that's okay.
Well, it's a real pleasure to be here with you, Charlie.
I'm excited. So you, so we want to. God, this is like being in Massachusetts because people don't use their friggin' blinkers, including me. You got a new gig with the NRA this year.
I did indeed.
And you've wanted to be in the NRA member since you were a kid?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, my parents will tell this story on, to their friends. When I was about 10 years old, they asked me what I wanted for my birthday, and I asked for an NRA membership.
No.
And
that's crazy talk.
And I notoriously put like NRA stickers on like all of our cars and vehicles and like our house. So yeah, it's I'm not new to either firearms or gun rights. Like that has been a priority for me since I was a little kid.
That's cool, man.
Yeah,
that's cool. I would, yeah.
To the chagrin of my parents, it's been an obsession like my whole life. I think we all, suffer from some mild degree of autism in this space, and I'm probably on the more extreme end of that spectrum.
Got a touch of autism?
Yeah, a little tiny bit. Yeah.
So,
all right.
Can we,
it's
we
a
can
long.
make a left here, can't we?
Yes, you can.
All right. I'll even use my blinker.
Try to use the blinker. Fuck the trend.
Right. It's also informing the enemy. So. All right. So, way before you, after you started putting NRA stickers on everything, and before you got the job as the New England?
So yeah, I'm a state director for NRA. We have multiple territories that our state and local team covers. My territory is essentially northern New England, so Massachusetts, Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. And my responsibilities there include all of the overseeing and handling all of the lobbying effort in all 4 of those states, and all the attendant functions that NRA ILA brings in those regions, including all of our political activities, managing our PAC operations, reviewing and assessing and endorsing candidates in state and local races up in those states. So, all of those functions, plus, it's just sort of a general liaison position for all of our state associations, for our board members in that region.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
That's one of the coolest parts about NRA is, the breadth of the organization. We have so many different programs, functions, features, and areas that we cover.
Yeah.
There's almost like something for everybody with NRA, and there's so many things that we bring to the table that sometimes I think it gets lost in the sauce. Like we have done a couple of projects this year that involve the NRA Civil Rights Defense Fund, which is another thing that the NRA does that I think not a lot of people even know exists. And,
right.
And that is a feature and a program and a thing that the NRA delivers that folks should know about, right? The Civil Rights Defense Fund is adjacent to our litigation efforts, but it's essentially a pool of money that's available for grants for folks that are dealing with licensing issues or legal issues with states with regards to gun control that has nothing to do with our broader litigation. It's there just to provide essentially legal resources for folks that are being harmed by state gun laws. So, it's a thing that, especially when we're talking about, I'm from New Jersey. I work in a lot of states in New England that are similarly sort of blue states trapped behind enemy lines. It's difficult environments to work in. We have very aggressive enforcement of gun laws across many of those states. New Jersey is one of them, but also Massachusetts, where we see lots of that.
Yeah.
And those are resources that the public should know about, things that the NRA has done and has done for a long time, and that are available for folks.
That's cool.
It's a cool job because we have so much to bring to the table.
Right.
It's the best job I've ever had in my life. I'm ecstatic to be part of NRA, and it's been a real pleasure to be part of the sort of rebirth of the NRA and the sort of NRA 2.0 era.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many things that are changing. Like one of the things that I got to do the last couple of years is be part of the Voices of the Second Amendment that they have at the annual meetings, where the NRA gives us a booth and says, "Hey, you create some content and do it here. We've got space for you, and we'll give you some power and possibly Wi-Fi."
Yeah.
So that's been really cool, man.
It's a more cooperative collegial environment than I think it was in the past. I think 20, 30 years ago, when I was a little kid, the NRA was the only game in town, right? There was were certainly other groups, and I'm not discounting the efforts that have been put in by other groups, but at a national level, there was really only one.
It's the right. It's the NRA. It's always been the NRA, because when you hear the anti-gun politicians want to go after gun owners, or even if they think you are a gun owner, they blame you, accuse you, call you, you're an NRA member. And dude, I got this from one of my college roommates one time. Reached out to me a couple of years ago. He's like, "Dude, I love the stuff that you're doing with the NRA." And I'm like, "I'm not really doing anything with the NRA. It's all me, man."
Yeah, we're synonymous with
gun ownership.
With gun ownership and gun rights.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Which is a double-edged sword, right? Because we can't win every battle, and when those battles are not won, it tends to be the NRA that takes the blame, which is not necessarily a fair reality, but because we're sort of synonymous with that movement, despite the growth of some of the other organizations that are out there, and we applaud all the effort that all of those other groups are putting into it too. Yeah. We just tend to be the ones that either get blamed for or get credit for, whatever's happening in the world. Mm-hmm. And, we're still, I would say this, regardless of your feelings about the NRA's history over recent years, like as gun owners in the United States, we need a strong NRA.
For sure.
And again, in this moment in history, I was particularly pleased to move over from my prior experience and bring it to something that I'm truly passionate about, with an organization like the NRA, because this is the moment in history when the NRA needs to sort of come back into the world as it was. So
for sure. All right, let's talk about this other stuff. So you became an NRA member when you were 9.
Yeah.
Where does it go from there? Like, what paths do you take? What kind of shooting do you do when you're young? Did it ever change? Were you into hunting? Did you join a college team? Did you
Yeah, so
dish?
I grew up as a sportsman, so fishing and hunting. As a kid, ironically, I was a competitive archer. So
That's cool.
yeah, and I would still say like archery, as far as sports are concerned, like archery is still quietly actually my real like true personal passion.
Yeah.
And my favorite time of year is bow hunting season. Like I hunt the gun seasons too, but archery has always been sort of what I was personally involved with the most of all shooting sports. But I was always a smattering of everything.
Yeah. I hate to sound all Ted Nugent, but after I became a gun guy, I did a hunter ed class, bought the like woodland camo outfit.
Yep.
I did end up getting a bow and arrow, and I took up archery. I thought archery was great. I got a 3D deer target.
Awesome.
I would go deer hunting because I thought that was the most logical thing to do. This is ridiculous. I got into it when my kids were young. We didn't have a lot of play money. So I was tactically frugal, as I like to say, which means I'm a cheap bastard. Yeah. And I went out, I would go out and I would put the broadheads together out in the woods. And I almost took off my thumb, right? And then legit, like I sliced my thumb, like I don't know how it stayed together, but I got my thumb back together. I went home. I created what I called the Mand-Aid. It's like a Band-Aid, but it's just gauze and duct tape. And then I went down to the archery store and bought a quiver.
Very nice. There's an obvious solution to that problem.
Right. It's been around for several hundred years, Charlie. You might want to buy yourself a quiver.
Yeah. Pretty important stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Especially if you're climbing up into a tree stand. Try to keep them things covered.
Oh, man. All right, so you're very much into archery.
Yeah, I was a junior Olympian when I was a kid, and I used to shoot competitive matches and mostly recurve.
Oh, cool.
And,
that's old school, man.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, this was in the 80s, so.
The 1980s.
Yeah, the 1980s. Yeah, so so I kind of grew up around that. Like I said, we had a hunting property in Pennsylvania when I was a kid. I spent my summers, in the backyard plinking away, and shooting anything that I could. Squirrel ran across my backyard. It was going down. Nice. That's just kind of how I was raised. My family immigrated here from Sicily in the early '60s. My grandfather was like a big sportsman, and several of my father's family members. His cousin was an Olympic clay shooter for the Italian national team.
Oh, cool.
And there's pictures of my grandfather from the 40s and 50s, rabbit hunting. And
wow.
So I think actually, so my grandfather passed away when I was 2 years old, but I grew up with these vision of like who he was as a person.
Right.
And around my parents' house, there's pictures of my grandfather from when he was younger, with a rifle over his shoulder in the field.
That's
and
cool.
I never really got to know him the way that I would have liked to because I was so young when he passed away. But his sort of memory is kind of, I think, part of what inspired me throughout my life too.
That's cool.
Just sort of aspiring to be like this person that I thought I knew.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just something I've always been around.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what do you do for school? What do you do for college? What do you do for work for from that time until...
Yeah.
So did you get married, kids, get more involved?
Yeah.
Less involved in shooting?
No, I would say as soon as my kids showed up, I mean, I was more involved. I mean, I got married like right out of college. I got married after I graduated college, before I went to law school. And I had 3 kids while I was in law school.
Wow.
Because I was working full time during the day, going to law school at night, and managed to have 3 kids before I took the bar exam. So I don't know exactly.
Wow.
I think about it like that period of my life, and I'm not even sure personally how I managed to get through that. To this day, I look back and I'm like, how the heck did we do that? In the spring of the year that I graduated from law school, we bought our house in May. I graduated.
Yeah.
We moved in, and then I took the bar exam. My daughter was born in April. So, so that sequence.
Damn.
Yeah. When you think about it now, like it's good to be young, I guess, is the moral of the story there. But yeah, so went to college and law school here in New Jersey. Worked mostly in the private sector for most of my career. For a long time, I worked in banking and insurance and did a lot of regulatory work during that period of time. Mm-hmm. I've also been very politically involved for most of my life. I've been involved with multiple state campaigns and congressional campaigns around the state of New Jersey. So I've been involved with sort of the local sort of GOP environment here. Mm-hmm.
In restrictive states like New Jersey and Massachusetts, it's hard not to become very knowledgeable about gun laws because you have to know all this. You have to probably know it better than the police do. But yeah, you got to know all this stuff. It's a lot to stay on top of.
Yeah. I think there was a turning point too there because there was a period of time where, especially in the lead up to Bruen, where the gun control was getting some serious momentum around the country, especially mm-hmm. in the sort of the wake of, let's say, like the Sandy Hook shooting. We obviously saw a big surge mm-hmm. in legislation around the country. So there was this period of time where all of a sudden the circumstances, especially in states like ours, was rapidly deteriorating. Mm. And that was, I think, motivating, aggravating.
Yeah, I remember in Connecticut after Newtown, I remember hearing stories where they're like, hey, if you've got an AR-15 style rifle, assault weapon, you need to turn it in or register it or neuter it or whatever. And
But you could feel the sort of the recipe was there. Like the Heller decision in 2008, the Supreme Court was moving things in a direction that was running sort of in opposition to what these states were doing. Mm-hmm. And, even in the lead up to the Bruen decision, there were multiple cases here in New Jersey that were up on appeal at the Supreme Court before Bruen, Rogers and others that were competitors to Bruen mm-hmm. In terms of the one that was going to get sort of selected by the Supreme Court for review.
Yeah.
And so you could feel this like sort of shifting of the tide, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And then, the Bruen decision comes down. And I think what really shifted my focus in my life was just the inevitable response to it. Like, in other words, we've just come through this grinder. We emerged victorious. And what were states like Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York going to do? They were inevitably not just going to sit there and take their lumps. There was going to be this big counter to that decision. Mm. So especially if you think here in New Jersey, especially, prior to Bruen in Massachusetts, you could get a concealed carry permit.
Petrolino and I have talked about this a lot because he's like, before Bruen, he's like, you have way more rights than I do because you can get a permit and you can carry. And even though we have a ton of restrictions in Massachusetts, he's like, it's better in Mass than New Jersey. And of course we have the pissing contest where I'm like, no, it's worse in Mass than it is Jersey. And you guys had, right after the Bruen decision, you guys had all the carry killer bills. And then in Massachusetts, they waited a year to come up with our
do your omnibus package. Yeah. But I think that's it. We didn't truly have a Second Amendment in the state of New Jersey until Bruen, because mm-hmm. outside of your home, you had no rights whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then suddenly that crippling environment fell away. Mm-hmm. And immediately the state of New Jersey was going to do everything that it could to take that all back somehow.
Right.
And I think the combination of those things, it went from a passion project to, no, I need to dedicate my whole life to this, because it was just so upsetting to see that progress be completely thwarted in these states.
Yeah.
That, I think I decided in that moment that, I think I need to take the God-given skills that I have, whatever has been given to me, and put it to better uses. And so, so then,
that's cool.
We took what was pre-Bruen, more of a kind of organic grassroots initiative that had been running here in New Jersey through a couple of social media groups. New Jersey Firearm Owners Syndicate started out essentially as a Facebook page.
Right.
That pre-Bruen had been used to just sort of organize organize the resistance, as it were. When bills were coming up, those like people would go on Syndicate, coordinate and show up in Trenton, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then post Bruin, it was, well, now we need to better organize that effort. And so we got together with the leadership of, that sort of informal grassroots organization, and we formed a proper nonprofit in the state of New Jersey so we could start to raise meaningful amounts of money to participate in the waterfall of litigation that followed the Bruin decision. And in a short period of time, in a little over a year, we filed 3 lawsuits against the state of New Jersey. We were lobbying on all the bills here in the state and working alongside the NRA on a bunch of key projects, along with other other national partners. Mm-hmm. So it was a sort of rapid growth initiative there. It was a project I'm really proud to have been part of.
That's cool.
So
that's cool. And this is before you took the job with the NRA, right?
That is just prior to joining the NRA. Yeah, we got the litigation portfolio up and running with New Jersey Firearms, and our largest single lawsuit was in partnership with the NRA. That's the suppressor case, which hopefully by the end of the summer we should be on sort of summary judgment motions on. So that was our first major litigation project, but we've been involved in several, and more to come in the near future.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
So yeah.
So what with your new gig? What you're juggling a lot of
territory.
A lot of territory. Let's call it. Maine's a big state.
Yeah, Maine's a big state. Yeah. And it's been a busy, it was a surprisingly busy session too.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot moving in Maine, in Massachusetts, in New Hampshire, in Vermont. This year was a very, very busy season, which is on some level, you would normally see a little bit of a drop off in that kind of activity in an election year. But for whatever reason, it's been busier this year in those states. So we've had a lot going on across that region.
Right. How do you catch up with all the stuff that's going on in all the states?
Yeah.
Because it's a lot. And there's the culture. Certainly the culture in New Hampshire is different from anybody else's.
That's correct. That is a unique environment.
We're banging at you here, people.
Yeah.
They're definitely different than they are from Massachusetts. And a lot of massholes escape Massachusetts and go to New Hampshire, and then they want to bring people have been doing this in Massachusetts for years. But now California's exporting blue voters and Democrats to red states and then turning red states purple.
Yeah.
But yeah, so how do you pick up on the culture in each of the states?
It's a learning curve. I can attest to that. It was sort of trial by fire for me personally, coming in November of last year,
25,
and then sessions starting on January 4th, 5th, 6th, and that first week of January. And being for most of those states mid-year in a biennium, like mid-session in a biennium. So it was it hit the ground and run kind of moment. And so I spent a lot of time in state capitals early in the session just trying to get the lay of the land. Right. And so it was a lot of shoe leather burn to get up to speed relatively quickly in what was supposed to be a quiet session that turned into a not so quiet session in all 4 states. So, and Massachusetts is doesn't have a true end of the session. They have a summer recess, and because of the election, things will shut down at the end of July and probably not restart until the end of the year.
Right.
But for it doesn't truly have an adjournment date, so they're in session all year.
If I get this right, they have to have something like every 3 days.
Yeah.
Is that right? So it's perpetually they're perpetually in session, but even though
Massachusetts is the prime time example of why you don't want
a full-time
legislature and a supermajority trifecta government.
Right.
Because despite all those rules, the constant problem with Massachusetts is because the Democrats in the state have supermajorities in both chambers, they're constantly suspending all those rules. So, you can't truly forecast. Yeah, I mean, just today, the day that we're recording this, as you know, like the one big legislative initiative in the Commonwealth this year has been technically a pro hunting bill.
Right.
Maura Healey signaled very early on that she was interested in bringing about
pro hunting.
She's pro hunting.
Right.
Famously went around and there's pictures of her
wearing a Carhartt jacket and shooting a crossbow
and a youth bow, and suddenly came out in support of lifting the ban on Sunday hunting, along with expanding archery provisions that would both increase access for crossbow hunting and also reduce setbacks so that the more area in eastern Massachusetts would be accessible to hunters.
And she reneged on this. Renege might not be the right word. But,
renege was not the right word. I think the right word is, I think a lot of that was done for optics. The administration
bamboozled? Is that the right word?
It never. I don't know that the administration was truly going to put a true effort behind that.
Right.
That got stripped out of. It was originally proposed as part of the governor's supplemental budget.
Mm-hmm.
It then got added into the House budget bill, and then the House stripped it out. And then last week, we were able to get folks in the House to add it back into a bond bill. That got voted on. It is now technically back before the legislature, but again, literally today, they suspended the rules. The Senate voted non-concur, and it's been sent to a committee of conference. And again, we have no idea how quickly or not quickly things move in Massachusetts because there really are no rules there. The Democrats rule the roost, and they break the rules all the time, and they do things how they see fit.
There's no one to hold them accountable.
And there's no one to hold them accountable. Zero accountability in that state. It's a very, very difficult environment to work in from our perspective.
Right.
And, I was talking about it with colleagues, like this year in particular, because this was tagged into the budget measure up there, the one thing that I thought was particularly unique is, and again, I worked in the private sector, when you're most lobbyists in this day and age, especially federal lobbyists, are mostly concerned with appropriations and budget bills. Because if you're lobbying for private concerns, businesses, corporations, special interest groups, most of that has to do with state and federal funding.
Right.
So budget periods, or the times of year when legislatures are dealing with budgeting issues, is usually the busiest time of year.
Mm-hmm.
Up on Beacon Hill last week, I can personally attest to the fact that the State House was full of people visiting because of the World Cup. It was actually quite funny because Scotland came in for their display with the orange cones. Yeah, and Massachusetts is their home state, so Boston was full of people in kilts, and the State House was full of people in kilts wandering around just visiting the State House, but there was no lobbyists, and we're in the heart of the budget season, and there's no actual lobbyists on Beacon Hill anymore because there's kind of no point to that any longer. Essentially, 3 people make all the decisions in that state. So if you need something done and you're in that sort of favored nation status, you need to make 3 phone calls.
Unbelievable.
There's no more like burning shoe leather.
Right.
Famously, Massachusetts has this rule where if you go to the House chambers, there's a red cordon that sits outside the House chambers. And the rule is lobbyists are not allowed to cross that threshold. Like, in other words, a lobbyist cannot enter where the voting sessions take place, and they create this like clear barrier where you can go no further. Now, normally that little red barrier is normally a whole lot of lobbyists just sort of hanging out, waiting for people to come and go in and out of those voting sessions.
Yeah.
Again, last week with major House votes and Senate votes, no lobbyists. And it's a strange thing. It's a strange environment there.
Oh, man. We're screwed.
It comes down to, what can we do in a state like Massachusetts? I think the most critical thing that gun owners, and this is going to be true across the U.S. this year, if you look at how much is in play and how much we have on the line, I think everyone ever has always said, like, this election is for the whole, is everything.
Every year. This is it. This is the most important election
This is the most
since the last election.
Exactly. This is the most important election of your lifetime. So everyone is here has heard that one over and over and over
For
again.
years, yeah.
But I would be willing to go on the line and say this is a really important election cycle.
Yeah.
You know, we're not likely to gain as much ground nationally because it's going to be it's a tough midterm.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a tough midterm for whoever the sitting president is. So it's always going to be an uphill battle. But there's a lot on the line this year.
Yeah.
And in a state like Massachusetts, you don't even need to win the majority. You just need to take back some of the ground that's been lost. The further and further you get to the line of going from a supermajority to a normal majority, then all of a sudden the rules come back. All those rules that they readily suspend.
Right.
At least we have to play by the rules in Massachusetts. And obviously, as you know, we've got a major ballot initiative in Massachusetts this year that's likely going to help increase voter turnout.
Gosh, I hope so. Yeah.
I certainly hope that's the case, and we expect that to be the case. I think there's things to be hopeful for. People need to participate this year. You know, we need to get our numbers off the sidelines in this election cycle.
Yeah, for sure. So the law is to repeal Chapter 135. Toby Leary, former shotgun passenger and good friend, he's been the catalyst to keep everything going and organized. And man, he just recently came back from Washington D.C. To talk to some politicians down there about this. And the thing is, we have to. The thing that I think it was the Attorney General did was rephrase the question.
Yeah.
Like there was some issue with the question where they're like, if you say yes, you're against homemade firearms and ghost guns and assault weapons, and if you vote no, then the law doesn't change. But it doesn't say what it changed back to, or it was almost a no answer. Like if you say yes, you're against you're for all this gun control, and if you say no, you're against it.
Yeah. That's always the uphill battle on ballot initiatives when you're running them in states that are not necessarily in your, we're in these battleground behind enemy line states. They get the opportunity to actually write the question. And of course, they're going to write the question
to favor them
in the most favorable way to their side. Their side.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the many uphill battles that go along with ballot initiatives, not just in Massachusetts, but everywhere. But I think the bottom line is that with the number of folks that came out to sign that petition, 100,000 people.
100,000. They only needed 50,000.
Yeah. So they sailed past that number. But if that 100,000 people that signed the petition show up to vote this year, that could have an impact on things.
It would. I'm going to say this. It would be better if all of the license to carry holders showed up and voted against it, because there's 600, I think, if I get this right, the Gun Owners Action League says there's 660,000 FID and LTC holders, right? And I believe Toby said that they had a big poll recently, and 73% of the people supported the Second Amendment, but it wasn't all geared towards gun owners. There were a bunch of non-gun owners, and a bunch of non-gun owners as well. So if we can get those people to come out and vote, man, that could be the change. So it's
an opportunity to put the actual issue on the ballot. I think the reality is, and like we see this all the time, when you look at sort of the groups that are supporting gun control, it's not a genuine organic initiative. It is heavily funded by a small collection of wealthy donors that are primarily concerned with propping up Democrats and the Democratic agenda. There aren't the armies. I brought this up in several forums, right? Like your show right here, you are doing this out of a sense of passion, and you're one of the many, many folks out there that make up the entire landscape of alternative media, of which there's hundreds and hundreds of people that are producing this content, that are informing gun owners every day and engaging with people on these issues. That is all 100% organic. Bloomberg is not writing a check
No.
to make riding shotgun with Charlie happen, unfortunately.
Right.
But
that would be bad too if he did.
yeah,
As long as the check cleared, he can screw.
but that's just simply not the case. Like, this is all being driven by a massive grassroots initiative here, and genuine people who actually care about their rights. The other side, that simply doesn't exist.
Right.
There aren't hundreds of YouTube channels out there that are putting out content to support gun control bills.
Mm-hmm.
And there aren't people out there who are spending their free time on a rainy day in New Jersey driving around and talking about how important it is to pass gun control bills.
Right.
The majority of people support the basic principles of the Bill of Rights.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have a majoritarian position on this. The small minority of people out there that hate our rights, they're not a true voice. Like I said, they're carrying water for some well-funded special interest groups out there, but that is not the actual people. What gives the NRA power is not the money that we spend on elections; it's the millions of members that we represent.
Right.
And the reality is when we have the opportunity to make, for example, to make endorsements for candidates that truly support our issues, gun owners vote. And they vote on those issues. Mm-hmm. Put that ballot measure in Massachusetts and let folks actually vote on the issue itself, as opposed to just getting lost in the sauce of national politics.
Right.
So it's going to be an interesting year. Let's see how this plays out. But I for one I'm trying to be as optimistic as possible. I think there's reasons for folks to feel that way.
Yeah.
There is a lot at stake though, so we've got to come off the sidelines. We've got to vote this year.
We really do. We really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's messy, and Massachusetts got the super majority, so they can run roughshod over everything else.
Yeah.
I used to jokingly tell people in the early 2000s when I started to pay attention to politics, I'm like, we could have the GOP convention right here in my car. Like, there's room for more.
Yeah. It's a small caucus, and that caucus needs to grow.
Yeah.
But, compared to other states, you need to look at other states across the region. Democrats held majorities in Maine, for example, but those margins are much thinner.
Right.
And the issue is less partisan there.
Yeah, because, Maine's a big hunting state.
Yeah.
And people hunt for food.
There's still a handful of pro-gun Democrats out there. It is a far less partisan issue, but it's trending that way. Mm-hmm. And so for Mainers, this is a major election this year.
Yeah.
There's a lot at stake in that election, and possibly with national implications. The Senate firewall protecting that in Washington, D.C. starts in Maine. And Paula Page, who is running for Congress in CD2 in Maine, that's probably the most flippable seat that was formerly held by Jared Golden. That's probably the most flippable seat for Republicans in this election, and we have a very strong pro-2A candidate running there, a very strong pro-hunting rights candidate there. We need to collect those wins where we can. Absolutely. Yeah. So in all the states this year, there's a big reason to come off the sidelines.
What's going on in Vermont?
Vermont was a weird session too. Vermont has a Republican governor. They've got strong majorities for Democrats in both chambers in the House and Senate. There were gun bills that were moving this year. There was an omnibus bill that sort of represented the panoply of the sort of gun control topics that are popular across the U.S. this year. A bill that would remove liability protections for manufacturers and dealers. We see that trend in other states too. So that was on offer this year. Those bills ultimately died between chambers because of just what seemed like a never-ending food fight over the budget. States like Vermont are struggling with just sort of basic finances these days, and the issues surrounding education funding in Vermont just sort of swamped the environment, and that gave us the opportunity to get some of these anti-rights bills that were moving kind of off the agenda, but it's going to come back next year.
Right. It's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere. These bills are thematic, and They're
Perennial.
yeah, perennial, like the perennial favorites. There's always going to come, every one of these states, there's going to be somebody who files an assault weapon ban. There's going to be somebody who files these bills every year, whether they're viable or not. So they're always on offer.
Yeah, there's a guy in Massachusetts in the Metro West area that does it all the time.
Yeah.
Every freaking year. Every year.
I mean, and Vermont is a lot like Maine in the sense that, it's a more rural state. Gun rights is less political as a general matter there. I think even Democrats are cautious about pushing the issue too far. You know, they want to carry water for, you know, those national groups. And you know, when we were up testifying on those bills this year, I mean, Giffords was there, every town was there, Moms, the whole lineup.
All the red shirts.
All the red shirts were there. The national folks from those organizations showed up at least on Zoom calls with the legislature. So like they're pushing the agenda, even though it really doesn't make any sense. Vermont has an exceptionally low crime rate. There's no real linkage. There was one of the bills this year was a machine gun conversion device bill. We see that cropping up in places like Illinois and Chicago, where there's lots of gang violence and there's actually something to talk about there. That's just simply not present in Vermont. So why are you doing
not a lot of gang violence in Vermont?
No. So why is this a priority at all?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no kidding.
The only reason that stuff shows up there is because, you know, Giffords asked for it, despite the fact that there's no public policy argument for it. There's no societal problem that they're trying to solve for folks in the Green Mountain State. Nonetheless, these bills are running. So, again, there's a good possibility that the dust settles on the election in Vermont and the Senate majority is a little narrower. There were some vacancies this year that made things a little harder. But if elections went as normal, if it wasn't sort of a particularly bad outcome, I think the GOP side ends up a little bit stronger in the next sort of cycle in Vermont than they are in the second half of this session. So, but these are thin margins that we're dealing with in Vermont and Maine, and can we protect those margins?
Right.
You know, and not let them turn into Massachusetts. No offense.
I'm offended by my own state. I really am. It's nuts to talk to people that, the people that are against gun ownership. Like, you don't have to be for it. Just don't be against it. Like, let people do what they want to do.
I think that's the majority of people. Like,
I'll tell you what I'd like to do. I'd like to get over one lane.
Welcome to New Jersey.
Yeah, dude. Let people do what they want to do. Like, don't force it on anybody. You know? Like, I'm forcing myself into this lane. Yeah,
I think that's right. I mean, I think I think that's like the sort of the baseline majority view. I think there's folks out there. Just look at the percentage of people that own firearms in the United States.
Right. It's like more than 50% or something like this.
It's approaching that number.
Right.
You know, depending on whose statistics you're leaning on there.
Sure.
But it's nearly a majority of households in the United States are gun owners themselves. And then what percentage of the folks that are not gun owners truly care about the issue? You know, very few of them. It's a tiny vocal minority that are driving all of that. It's not reflective of the majority view on the issue in the United States. Nonetheless, like, we're in this intractable battle over it at both the state and federal level.
Right.
On some level, I think Democrats are learning that lesson because we see less energy behind it than in years prior. But, you know, then again, look at what happened in Virginia this year.
Oof.
You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not going to say it was a little bit of switch and bait from Spanberger, but she ran as a moderate and then she turned hard left.
Yeah, I'd call her a bold-faced liar.
Yeah.
You know, she presented herself to the voters in the state of Virginia as a moderate candidate, and then within 30 days in office,
I think it was 30 hours, wasn't it? Yeah. Like, it was quick. It was quick that she came out.
Yeah.
And now, I've seen some articles that said the police do not want to go. They don't want to enforce the law, so they're not going to go door to door. But wasn't she encouraging that at one point?
There's Virginia. There was a number of counties that had passed sort of 2A sanctuary rules a long time ago, and prior instances where gun control pre-Glenn Youngkin, and
so that was what, 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So
one would expect the same kind of resistance to this at the local level, an unwillingness to carry water for the state and enforce these unconstitutional laws, and you're certainly seeing that trend. We got the courts running right now, so who knows how that's going to play out. That was probably one of the best examples of coordination amongst all these gun rights groups, the NRA, being a part of that, but even our national partners on that. This time around, we carefully coordinated how we were going about this, so we weren't tripping over each other in court. So we've given ourselves like the best opportunity to have an impact on this in the courtroom. But I would expect to see more and more resistance at the county level in terms of the enforcement side of this. But it certainly seems like the state is going to put maximum pressure on these county officials to actually enforce the laws. Like Spanberger, again, not the moderate that she sold herself as.
Right.
And obviously a close personal ally of the governor who's currently presiding over this state, Mikey Sherrill, virtually cut from the same cloth. College roommates, and all of that.
All of that.
All of that.
That's nuts. All right, listen, we are almost back to where we need to be. This has been a lot of great information, man.
Yeah.
This is a lot of really good stuff.
Thank you for having me on.
I'm glad to have you on. I'm glad we were able to do this.
Yeah.
Where can people find you and the NRA stuff and all things NRA? All things NRA.
If I could leave everybody with one message, obviously I think it's time. If you've let that membership lapse, it's time to come back to the NRA. Get signed up, become a member of the NRA. But even if you're an NRA member, go to the NRA ILA website, nraila.org, and make sure that you're signed up for all of the action alerts for your home state.
Okay.
Even if you're an NRA member, it doesn't necessarily mean that you elected to sign up to receive all of that information. If you go to the NRA ILA website, whether you're a member or not, you can sign up for action alerts that are pertinent to where you live. When there's legislation moving, you will get alerts from us to let you know that you need to take action and contact your members. And we make this as easy as possible. You'll get an email in your inbox that comes up with an explanation as to what's happening in your home state, and just a simple button to click that will allow you to contact your state representatives, your state senator, or your governor.
And it really can't be any easier.
It can't be any easier. It's the lightest lift and the easiest thing that you can do. Head on over to nraila.org. Make sure you're signed up to get all the action alerts, because that's probably the most impactful thing that you can do as an individual member. And I said, just because you are a member of the NRA doesn't necessarily mean you're getting all that information. You should make sure that you are.
Gotcha. Cool, man. You're doing some writing for News 2A, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're a busy dude.
So come check me out on News 2A. I haven't had as much time in the last couple of months, but I do have some things in the hopper.
Cool.
So certainly go check out our friends at News 2A, news2a.com. And you can find some of the things that I write there as well.
Awesome. Dude, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Let's not get into an accident here. This has been great. Anytime you want to be on, man, let me know.
Appreciate it.
Whenever you're up in the Commonwealth, screw these guys. We'll cut them off. Anytime you're in the Commonwealth, we got to get together. It's
Absolutely.
Always good to see you and always good to catch up.
Absolutely.
We're going to put some links to the NRA below. We'll put a link to News 2A. I'm also going to put a link to Second Amendment Foundation. There's going to be a link there, so you can join Second Amendment Foundation if you are not a member. If you've made it this far in the show, please share it with your friends, because that is how we get the stagecoach across America. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you later.